Have you ever really looked at the screen you're on right now? I mean, it's not just showing you colors. It's actually creating almost 17 million of them. And get this, it's doing it all with just 3. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the science behind your screen. I mean, it feels like magic, doesn't it? This flat piece of glass just summons up a fiery sunset or the deepest blue ocean. But it's not magic at all. It's actually this incredible mix of physics, biology, and some really clever computer science. And the whole journey, it all starts right here, with something you probably remember from science class. Yep, the prism. It turns out every color we can possibly see is already hiding inside plain old white light. They're just waiting to be unpacked. All right, so let's get into it. Before we can even talk about how a screen makes color, we gotta go back to basics. What is color anyway? Well, it all comes down to light waves and how they bounce around the world and, hit our eyeballs. So think about this. An apple isn't really red. Crazy, right? What's happening is that the apple's skin is soaking up all the other colors of light, but it's reflecting the red wavelengths. That's what bounces back into our eyes, and our brain says, hey, that's red. But that's only half the story. The other half isn't out there in the world. It's actually inside your head. We're talking about these tiny little cells at the back of your eyes called cones. This is where the physics of light gets handed off to the biology of sight. It's pretty cool. Now, this part is fascinating. Our eyes don't have a separate sensor for yellow and purple and teal and all that. Nope. We basically see everything as a mix of signals from just 3 types of cones. And check out the numbers. We have way fewer blue-sensitive cones than red and green. But somehow, our brains take that info and build this incredibly vibrant world. Now hang on to those 3 colors, red, green, and blue, because trust me, they are about to become super important. Okay, so if our own eyes are built around red, green, and blue, it kind of makes sense to build our tech the same way, right? But here's the big problem. How do you explain red to a machine that only thinks in ones and zeros? I mean, color is so subjective, so human. Well, the solution is something called a color model. And you can just think of it like a giant, universal recipe book for color. It's a system that gives every single color a unique address, a specific set of coordinates. That way, a computer in Tokyo and a smartphone in Toronto can both look at those coordinates and create the exact same shade of blue. It's a universal language. So for anything that makes its own light, we're talking your phone, your TV, your laptop, the system they all use is the RGB color model. It's basically built to copy how our eyes work. But here's the key difference. Instead of just seeing the light, these devices are actively creating it. And this visual just explains it perfectly. Just picture a 3D cube, okay? The amount of red you have is one direction, green is another, and blue is the third. So right at the starting point, coordinates 0, 0, 0, there's no light at all. That's pure black. And then way over at the opposite corner where you've cranked all 3 colors to the max, that's when you get the brightest white. Literally every single color your screen can possibly make is just one specific point, one unique address somewhere inside this incredible cube. It's like its own little universe of digital color. So just how many points are we talking about inside that cube? Well, in a standard full color image, what they call 24-bit color, each of the 3 main colors, red, green, and blue, gets 8 bits of data. Now, since computers think in binary, 8 bits gives you 256 different shades for each color, from totally off to full blast. So you take 256 levels of red times 256 levels of green times 256 levels of blue, and what do you get? You get this massive number, almost 17 million possible colors. Wow. Okay, but hold on a second. What happens when you're not creating light, but you're trying to put ink on paper? Well, that's a whole different ballgame. It needs a completely different system. So now we're leaving the digital world of the screen and heading into the physical world of print. You see, RGB is what we call an additive model. You start with black, which is no light, and you add light to get to white. But printing, that's subtractive. You start with a white piece of paper, and you use inks, in this case cyan, magenta, and yellow, to subtract or absorb certain colors. The light that's left over, the light that bounces off the paper, that's the color we end up seeing. And this brings up a question that I am sure you've asked yourself every time you've had to buy ink for your printer. If mixing those 3 colors, cyan, magenta, and yellow, is supposed to make black, then why in the world is there always a separate 4th cartridge just for black ink? Well, the answer is actually pretty simple and practical. In the real world, inks just aren't perfect. So in theory, yeah, mixing them all together should give you black. But in reality, you get this kind of gross, muddy brown. So to get that sharp, crisp, true black that you need for things like text, printers just add it as a fourth color. And the K in CMYK, it actually stands for key, because way back in traditional printing, the black plate was the key plate that all the other colors lined up to. It added all the detail. Okay, so far we've been talking about how we capture and recreate colors that we can already see with our own eyes. But what if we could use color to see things that are normally completely invisible? This is where things get really cool. It's where color theory basically gives us a superpower. And this superpower has a name. It's called pseudo-color. The basic idea is you take an image that's just shades of gray, but that gray image represents some kind of data, like temperature or pressure, or even the density of human tissue. And then you strategically add color to it to make all that hidden information just pop right out. So why does this work so well? It really comes down to a basic limitation of our own biology. I mean, check out this quote. Our eyes are amazing at telling apart thousands of different colors and shades, but when it comes to shades of gray, we can barely tell apart a couple dozen. We're just built for color. Just look at this CT scan, for example. A doctor is trying to find these tiny, tiny differences in tissue density, and those differences show up as super subtle changes in gray. I mean, that is incredibly hard to do, and when your eyes get tired, it's really easy to miss something important. So the technique they use is often called intensity slicing, and it's actually beautiful in its simplicity. Basically, a computer program just goes through the grayscale image, and it groups together all the pixels that have a similar shade of gray. Then, it assigns a totally different high-contrast color to each of those groups. What you end up with is a color-coded map of all that original data. And the result is, well, it's a total transformation. What used to be this muddy, hard-to-read mess of gray suddenly becomes this clear map of distinct, colored areas. All of a sudden, patterns and weird spots that were totally hidden before are now staring you right in the face. And this isn't just some neat visual trick, This is a really important tool. It helps doctors make better diagnoses from medical scans. It lets scientists see temperature changes on a global scale using satellite data. It even helps engineers find tiny stress fractures in materials. It takes complex data and just makes it make sense. So when you think about it, from the simple physics of a prism to the complex biology of our eyes, all the way to the digital logic inside a computer, color is this incredibly powerful language. It lets our screens show us the world in brilliant detail, but it also gives us the power to see worlds that are completely hidden from us. And that kind of leaves you with one big question, right? What else is out there, just waiting for us to find the right colors to bring it to light?